The following podcast is run by a couple of former wheel turners and one pit guy. It's meant for entertainment, not so much information, but sometimes there's some good information. The opinions expressed are just, these are the morons on the show. Not necessarily right, not necessarily wrong, not the views of any of the sponsors or anything like that. So, these guys, they're going to be talking, they might swear here and there, so if that offends you, either grow up or get a little permission from mom and dad.
All right, race fans, back at you here, episode number 244, and Puka informed, well, actually, Puka, he's the numbers guy, right, of this whole deal, right? The One to Go show, he started the whole deal. Got to give him credit. I know you guys wouldn't believe this. Of all fucking places that this deal started at, the gym. I probably need to get back there. Instead of sitting my fat ass in the truck all day, probably need to spend a little time in the gym. True story for those of you that wonder, how'd the show ever start? Well, 5 years ago, I was in the gym up in Grand Rapids, Minnesota, running on the treadmill. Yes, running, probably about ready to have a heart attack, needed a nap like Anthony Richardson. And in comes Puka. He's like, hey-ho! And if you know Puka, he's loud. He likes to get after it. He's like, hey-ho, what the hell are you doing here? I'm like, trying to get less fat. Probably need to get back there. So we start bullshitting. He gets on one next to me, and let's just say he's in a lot better shape than I am. And he's like, we should do a podcast. And I'm like, I never listened to a podcast in my life. This is 5 years ago. Never been on Spotify, no podcast, no nothing. Thought he was talking business because we kind of both in the business realm. And it turned out he wanted to talk racing. Lo and behold, we start the One to Go show. Started just doing podcast. I got a face for radio, so it kind of worked out pretty good. And me, him, and Bert Lehman, we started this deal up, and here we are, guys. And he said, well, 7 years. I'm like, I don't think it's 7 years. He goes, oh, shit, fat thumbs. He goes, 5 years. So it's our birthday this week, 5 years strong. So Bert, Coach, happy birthday, guys, to the One to Go show. Thanks for all you guys do. So here we are, the One to Go show, of course, brought to you by Impact Health Sharing. Open enrollment starting up here, I think, this week, essentially. And if you're in the market for health insurance, if you pay for your own, if you have employees, a family, you got to be in pretty good health. Pre-existing deal, probably not the best fit for you. But if you're paying too much, got high deductibles, maybe you're stuck going to a certain network of doctors that you have to go to, but you don't want to go to. We don't have a certain network within Impact Health Sharing. Hit me up on 218-969-1380. You can text me, you can call me, hit me up on Messenger. I can get you a quick quote, and I can also get you the information you need to see if Impact Health Sharing is a good fit for you and your family to help you save some money on healthcare costs. So let's start with this. Kraus, I got to ask, any hockey this past week? Let's start there. I know it's racing season is done, but you guys play hockey this past weekend. How'd that go?
We did. We had a good weekend. We swept the weekend, and up in your neck of the woods again. We were up in Evelyn on, trying to think now, Friday night. And Bert, supposedly Ryan sent a heckler at me in Evelyn. That's what kind of guy he is. He sends a heckler at me. Luckily, I haven't raced up there at all. Okay, because like when I go down to Wilmer, I got a bunch of hecklers down there because we play down there too, and they don't like me because I've won championships there, and I won some races down there. So luckily, I haven't raced up in the Iron Range, Bert, because they wouldn't like me very much up there either. So suppose he had a heckler. I didn't hear the guy. We won in overtime, so I think they were a little razzed up because the Alexandria Superstock King came up there and then brought his hockey team up there and won again.
Well, it was our boy Goose, a big fan of the show, right, is who it was, and he said, yeah, I was kind of cocking off to him a little bit. He goes, he never even turned around. He did send a spot of that during the national anthem. You must have shaved the back of your head. Not really sure, but we can't see it with the hat on. So he did send a picture of that. But I said, you got to get a little bit closer. Now I got to ask you this: So your assistant coach, Johnny Kraus, right? Suspended. He gets ejected. Now, Bert. Now I know Coach Kraus is the politically correct type on the show. He's kind of a pussy on the show a little bit. Is kind of what I've been told by some of the fans. That's not the Coach Kraus that I know. He's kind of a troublemaker, not afraid to get after it, throw it down. He's been in fist fights at the racetrack. This is a little bit different. This is a PG version of him. Now, if that's a PG version, Johnny Kraus that I know is like G-rated, right? I've never seen him get worked up, mad, nothing, right? So how did you get him booted out? Because they obviously got the wrong coach. Like you probably said, no, it was this guy right here cocking off. What happened? How did your assistant coach get literally suspended for a game? What happened there?
Well, right. He's a super stock driver, man. That's how we roll. We completely changed him. We turned him into a super stock driver, and that's what happens. You get a little rough. You get a little excited, and he was wound up. We had a not so favorable ref. Had some run-ins with him in the past, and Johnny didn't like to call after the second period and kick the door shut and tell them how he thought they were reffing the game. And he's a younger guy, and if it was an older guy, the guy would have probably beaked back at him and just, but he tossed him right away. And I didn't say nothing because all of a sudden I get tossed and you got nobody on the bench. So he got a little wild. You got to do that every once in a while. But like I said, you're a super stock driver. You're going to get wound up. He got tossed. I think he got tossed on purpose so he didn't have to ride the bus to Evelyn on Saturday. Then he could stay home and hang out with his girlfriend. That's kind of what I'm thinking happened. Makes sense. We won anyway without him, so at the end of the day, it don't matter. But yeah, he got a little wild. You can do that every once in a while, and he didn't get fined. You can get fined, Bert. We do get fined. So there's a lot of coaches. If you get kicked out of a game, it's $250 or $500. You get fined actually, and sometimes the owner pays it. Sometimes the owner doesn't. Depends on what you did. So no fine on his part. Just a 1-game suspension.
And I'm kind of proud of him. I got to be honest.
In hockey, is it like baseball where if you say the magic word, you get tossed? Have you guys ever seen the movie Bull Durham?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, he used the F word and then the "you suck" line all in one, and that's probably the kind of the magic words.
Nice. Bert, I got to ask you. So, Coach, he on my end, right? And I'm in Pennsylvania, so maybe it's my end. Did he cut out a couple times when he was talking on your end? Did he cut out a little bit?
No, he was fine on my end.
Okay, so it's probably good on the recording, just on my end. So I'm hopefully I don't have any technical difficulties. I'm in Pennsylvania, probably going to be here through like Wednesday or Thursday. I'm supposed to deliver in the morning, turn around, get back home, but seems like every time I come out to Pennsylvania, I break down. I'm stuck out here for 3 days, so probably should just go ahead and book the hotel room now. Hey, last question about hockey. You ever have a goalie mid-game, literally, right? The plays maybe down in the offensive zone for you. You ever have a goalie just kind of skate over to the bench and say, you know what, fuck it, I need a break. I'm kind of tired. That last odd man rush down there, I kind of had to work a little extra hard. I need a little nap. Got to come off to the side. I'm going to take a little break, Coach. You ever have that happen?
I have never had that happen.
So I was talking to Changa, and he's like, I don't care. Fuck football. The biggest news in the sports world right now is obviously Anthony Richardson literally taking a break on third down in a divisional game in the first quarter. Like Lamar Jackson runs around the field in football like going out of style. This guy here's in the first quarter. Yeah, I was kind of tired. I needed a break. So that's not happened. Would you probably sit him down next game? Would you give him a longer break? I mean, what was your thoughts on that whole deal with Anthony Richardson?
Well, I think he got what was coming to him. And for us Viking fans, I think we wanted him to play on Sunday night. We don't do real well with old quarterbacks that stand back there and throw bombs all over the place. So, I saw that and I was like, hold on here a sec. I had no idea about it. I'm like, he did what? He came over to the sideline and said, wait. And I like he ran for the previous 2 plays. Like he barely ran 20, 25 yards if he did anything. And half the time he was just trotting, trying to, juke tacklers out and stuff. So I'd have no idea, but I'm pretty sure there's some other members of the captains of the team that had said something to the coaching staff. Like, we're not going to play for this guy. And all of a sudden, boom, Flacco's in there. I mean, it's all tied together. So yeah, it was pretty unbelievable if you ask me.
It was crazy. It was crazy. So I'm assuming, I can't imagine Coach Krause allowing that to happen. I had somebody ask, Coach Krause, does players take breaks? Well, evidently Johnny did. So your assistant coaches, he kind of took a break, but he didn't just say he was tired. He got himself booted. So we do have a ruling here. I'm not sure how we're going to play this. Probably, I think we already made an official ruling. But so Bert trying to sneak one past us again on our draft. So we're doing a draft for the World Finals. And Bert picked, okay, so what we're doing is we're picking, you can pick drivers, either late model sprint car or the big block mods, 8 rounds, kind of like a fantasy football draft for the World Finals. You get points, and then we have an ultimate winner. Well, you get 8 drivers. There's 8 rounds. Bert picked Max McLaughlin. Well, he didn't declare, right? Well, is he racing a late model? Is he racing a big block mod? Is he racing both? And there was kind of a little bit of a to-do between all of us in the group chat. And we kind of decided, well, kind of got to go with the late model. What do the fans think? And lo and behold, he also picked Ricky Thornton Jr., who announced today that he's running a sprint car as well. So essentially, Bert has 2 drivers that one for sure announced he's doing double duty. McLaughlin possibly, but he hasn't announced if he's running big block mod or not. So we kind of decided as a group that, well, you're just going to get whatever, whatever class is the class you've been running all year. That's the one you get. Bert's like, I should get points for both because it doesn't specifically say in the rules. You got Jeff over there. You got Uper, who's a former tech guy making unwritten rules, right? Because it doesn't say in there. He's kind of making shit up as he goes. Well, Brad, he said this. He goes, well, here's the deal. Okay, I get that he should only get points for one or the other. But I believe a good solution would be he gets points, whatever is the higher of the 2 over the 3 days that they race, he should get that class. So if Ricky Thornton Jr. sucks it up in the late model and he goes out there and he runs top 5 in the sprint car all 3 nights, hey, Bert gets the sprint car points, not the late model. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that Bert's trying to pull a fast one. Coach, what do you think? You weren't on the show last week. Bert trying to pull a fast. Is he trying to be a Packer? Bunch of cheating fuckers over there. What do you think? I mean, I got to be honest. I was a little proud of him. I really was for trying to sneak one in here. Bert, a little bit of a shyster here. Kind of proud of him for that. Coach, your thoughts?
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you said A, he's a Packer fan. B, he's from Wisconsin, and C, his favorite racetrack is Shawano. So there's your 3 strikes right there. It's Bert trying to pull a fat. Come on, Bert. Like, you're not going to say, oh, I get this. Well, he races 12 classes. I get to race. I mean, everybody just picks Shane Sabraski or Tim Johnson their whole life, and that's what would happen. So, yeah, it's not happening, Bert. You know the rules. You were just trying to slip one by us now. So, and then on the flip side, you made me mad. So I take 2 days to make a pick. So if you guys don't like it, tough luck. Bert started this, not me. I'm just continuing on the nonsense.
Bert, any last words here or what?
Well, I was following the rules. It said 8 drivers, and McLaughlin's a driver. Shohei Ohtani is playing in the World Series. Granted, he's injured, so he can't pitch. But if he was pitching and batting, he only takes 1 roster spot. He doesn't take 2.
Yeah, but for fantasy points, Bert, you only get 1. Whatever you get to declare him. You either declare him a hitter or you declare him a pitcher, and you only get those points.
So,
well,
same with FanDuel when you're betting on him.
I got to be honest with you. If you're going there, I don't know. I mean, if I had, so last week, right, David Montgomery, if I picked him as a running back and I had him as a running back, you got points for his touchdown pass.
He's on offense. Fantasy points is by offense and defense.
Yeah,
Another
so you got
example.
running back points and technically quarterback points in there. I don't know. I guess we'll have to see how this
I had
all
Philip
plays out.
Gustafson last week on my fantasy hockey team. He scored a goal. I didn't get credit for the goal. Is that right?
You didn't?
No. Is that right or is that wrong?
That's bullshit.
That's wrong.
Yeah, you got,
see, that's what I'm saying.
yeah, you got
Yahoo
screwed. You got
Yahoo
screwed.
Sports got a
it-
nasty gram for me, and they're probably not real happy with me right now.
And since we're talking about fantasy sports here, I just gotta say, I'm sorry, Johnny Broking, for beating you this week.
The steel curtain got him, huh? The steel curtain.
Well, the funny thing is, I was down by like 50, and I had like Shakir, the wide receiver from Buffalo, going yet, and I just picked up McConkey. I thought I don't have a chance. McConkey scores 37 points. Shakir had 24 points, and Pickens didn't get his feet down for a touchdown. If he gets his feet down, I lose.
Well, the 45J tends to choke under pressure, right? I mean, I remember Labor Day shootout a couple years back. He's leading, the deal spins out, right? Now he's got a big lead on you. Essentially spun out again. So maybe there's a pattern here. I don't know, Broken. Get this shit together. Well, don't be doing this, all right? All right. So we got welcome back. Welcome back, Carter Matthews. So, guys, last year with Soda Hornet driver, he was leading national points, ran kind of all over the place. I know in 2023, Fergus and Alex were not sanctioned in Hornets, but he made trips down to Montevideo and he kind of raced all over the place, won a bunch of races. Well, in a kind of a rare occurrence, this doesn't happen a lot in Wissota. He got a year suspension. He actually, for rough driving, he kind of had a few incidents, and finally they put their foot down at the end of the year. Actually, I think it was in August before invites. He got together with a guy and they booted him, and they said, look, you're losing all your points, your championship, you're losing everything, you're suspended indefinitely, you're kicked out of Wissota, we ain't putting up with this shit. And, and he needed, I mean, I thought that was a little bit harsh, a year, right? But they did have a meeting this past week. They went down, they met with Wissota, or whenever it was, just recently, but I just saw the press release come out, and they decided that, he served a long enough penalty. He's going to have an extended, I think, 5 years probation for anything unsportsmanlike. But Carter Matthews is going to be able to come back in 2025 and race Wissota. Don't know what his plans are, but he was a good race car driver over there, so it's good to have him back. And I know he made trips over to Grand Rapids, and we saw him over in Hibbing a little bit, definitely Bemidji. So it's always good to have a racer come back, and hopefully he learned from that experience. And if there was a guy that was going to get kicked out for doing stupid shit, it was this guy. I never got a year, but I did get kicked out for a night here and there a couple times. So I understand. He's human. A lot of people have done it. A lot of people probably could get kicked out, but good to have him back. So let's go to this. Let's go to the top stories of the week, and not a lot of racing. So we don't have 5. We just got 3 this week. But a quick shout out to our friends over at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating, and that's over in Ashland, Wisconsin. So they build the Galloper chassis. They do custom powder coating, sandblasting, fabricating. They service a lot of racetracks. Proud sponsor of the #1 series in Wissota racing, the Northland Superstock Series. And I tell you what, just an all-around good guy. Chris has done a lot for racing, a lot for racers, a lot for different racetracks. And pay him back. It's that time of year. You're getting your car ready for 2025. You need parts. You need stuff. Get a hold of Chris and the crew over at Fastlane Motorsports and Powder Coating. And that's right there in Ashland, Wisconsin. So number 3, let's go to the buggies. Let's start with a little World of Outlaws. So did you guys get a chance to watch the World of Outlaw A-Main at Riverside this past week? So Bert's nodding. Kraus is shaking his head. Bert, not necessarily track of the year, not a race of the year candidate. Coach, you did. You got to do yourself a favor and don't watch this one because it was horseshit. It was straight rubber the whole race, literally in a line, middle of the track. I mean, absolute straight garbage. But here's the deal: Carson Macedo's trying to catch David Gravel in the championship, right? He's leading this race, gets together with a lapper, and in my opinion, Bert, you can give your thoughts, but kind of a product of the track. Rubber through the middle, and he trying to get by him, and he ends up KOing him with the right rear, and he sends that guy he split up and he rolled over. It wasn't a crazy hard roll, but hard enough. And Fortunately for him, he didn't cut a tire, didn't spin himself out, didn't come to a stop. So he retains the lead, goes on to win the race. I think David Gravel gets second. So we got a little bit more on this, but your thoughts on that incident? I mean, definitely some luck. Is that one of them deals where if there's judgment calls, he's going tail end Charlie there and probably going to screw himself and knock himself right out of contention?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, like you said, the track conditions were not good. To me, the track looked very slippery. It seemed like the cars were sliding around. It reminded me of cars racing on ice, is what it reminded me of. But yeah, I mean, Macedo actually had a full lane beneath this car to make the pass, but the way down on the bottom was not the preferred line, and he slid up a little bit, and they made contact, and the lap car rolled, and yeah, in my opinion, if there were judgment calls made, he would go to the back.
Yeah, he dodged a bullet there because there's literally, I believe there's nothing this weekend for World of Outlaws, correct? And then next weekend is the World Final, so there's 3 races left, and I think he's like 72, 74. He gained a couple points because Gravel got second, but if he goes to the back, if he gets a flat, or if he wrecks, his championship hopes are over. He still has a shot. It's a long shot, 70-some points. Gravel's going to have a DNF in there, or some crazy shit's going to have to happen. Still mathematically in this thing, but boy, he dodged a bullet there. So definitely not the most exciting race in the world, but that leads to night number 2, which ended up getting canceled. So boy, there's a lot of buzz online, at the Riverside Speedway page. A lot of their fans pissed off at the World of Outlaws. They're like, why did they cancel? So it sounds like it rained a little bit during the day. It didn't sound like it really amounted to much. And they just up and said, nope, we're done. We're canceled, pulling the pin. We're out of Dodge. And the fans, I obviously wasn't there, but the fans are sure like, this is bullshit. They could have easily got this race in. Well, when you look at, Kraus, you know this, right? You've been around racing. You're a promoter. If it's raining midday at all, your fan count is significantly less, even if it's a World of Outlaws show, especially when night number 1 was straight rubber. It was one thin lane of rubber right through the middle, and it was slippery, like Bert said, like glass everywhere else. No passing at all. So how much did the terrible track prep on night 1 contribute to their quick decision to cancel the races on night number 2, the World of Outlaws?
I'd say the main thing, you got to remember World Outlaws all advanced ticket sales. So they're going to look at that advanced ticket sales, look at the weather forecast, and make a decision. That's what happened. It happened a bunch of times with the World Outlaws this year. They're going to say, we got no advanced ticket sales. The weather's bad. Nobody's going to show up. And I don't know how a lot of tracks are doing a profit. They're splitting the profits or whatever they're doing, or a certain lump sum or whatever they're doing. They're not going to, if they know they're going to lose money before the races even start, they're canceling regardless. That's kind of their policy. It's the way they do things. Track prep shouldn't play a role into it. It really shouldn't, because there's some people that can say something and you can fix track prep in a big hurry with some people. We've seen it in multiple shows where one night's rubber and the next night it's a swamp. So I think it had to do something with advanced ticket sales and then the weather forecast.
I would have to think, if they had if they had whatever crowd they had night 1, I'm guessing a lot of them people bought tickets for both nights, I would think. So if night 1 was decent, night 2 must have been the same on the advanced ticket sales side of it, especially being it was a Friday, Saturday. It wasn't a weekday, it wasn't a Sunday. So I don't know. I think maybe their advanced ticket sales were at a low enough deal to where they're figuring they're not going to get any more people coming in, and that's just not enough. So obviously money was involved, but boy, I tell you what, Kraus, if you saw the track on that one, and Bert, you saw it definitely was not up to the standards of what we see at most World of Outlaw sprint car races. I feel like it was bad enough to where maybe it was a factor, but it definitely was not good. Let's just put it that way. So let's jump into number 2. Why not on the fun tour, right? So why not Motorsports Park, Meridian, Mississippi had a doubleheader this past weekend, their fall classic, and Turbo Tyler Erb parking the one ride in Victory Lane, the best performance #1. And boy, I didn't realize he won a shit ton of races on the Hell Tour this year. I mean, he has, I don't know exactly how many, I don't have it in front of me, but I think he's like right around 14 wins or something on the year. He's had a pretty good year. Now, yeah, not on the Lucas Oil Tour so much, or not on the World of Outlaw, but a lot of them regional type races, and some of them are pretty darn good paying. He won quite a few of them this year, and there was a pretty good field of cars down there in Meridian, Mississippi. I did not get a chance to watch that one. I did see a couple of little clips or whatever. Turbo was pretty darn good down there, and he's been down there before. I remember a couple of years ago he had a great race with Dennis Erb Jr. Bert, did you get a chance to watch anything from Why Not? Did you give us your thoughts? What happened there? We missed anything on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I watched the feature, and through the first half of the feature, I mean, it was a decent race, nothing spectacular. But then there's a restart later in the race, and for probably 2 or 3 laps, Turbo and Ashton Winger were throwing slide jobs against each other every corner. I mean, those 2 to 3 laps were very fun to watch. But Turbo came out ahead on was able to do the final slide job and then stay in the lead to win the race. But those 2 to 3 laps made the entire race worth watching.
Nice. So yeah, and that was on Hunt the Front TV, Hunt the Front Racing. They have their own streaming platform. I think it's part of the Speed Sport network. So if you have Speed Sport or if you have Hunt the Front, you can jump online. They probably have some clips on YouTube as well, I'm guessing.
Well, and you can watch the complete feature on Dirt on Dirt also. That's where I watched it.
Perfect. So yeah, Turbo getting it done down there. Congratulations to him. But #1, and am I cutting out at all on your guys' end, or am I coming in? I'm coming in good. Okay, yep. So you guys are cutting out a little bit on my end, but that's technical difficulties. I'm sure the recording is just fine, but it's a little bit, I kind of have to listen, and I'm lip reading up there going, okay. What is he exactly saying? So, all right, I'm just making sure. So technology is great when it works. All right. So #1, Pennsboro is back. I saw some photos of that place, some drone shots, the fall colors changing. That place, I mean, it just looked like it was like a beautiful scenery from up above. Holy shit, is that a unique track? I didn't realize that until this week. I mean, it's like it kind of reminds me of Ocala, like a really big Ocala, because it's a 5/8 mile, but it's a big giant sweeper on one end and super tight on the other end. And they weren't afraid, Barry and the crew, they were not afraid to be like, you know what, we didn't like the racing as much night #1. We're going to move the infield in, and so hard work. I mean, hard work. Them guys put in a shit ton of work to make this deal happen. Obviously, Bobby Pierce was kind of the story there. Yeah, Devin Moran won the second one, but it was a marble up day race, not very good. He kind of just held him off. But first of all, your thoughts on the event as a whole, and then we're going to talk a little bit about Bobby Pierce's win on the main night. But just overall thoughts on the event. I did hear from a fan, but I'll just on what you guys saw, what was your thoughts on the XR Super Series late model event? What was it? The Mason-Dixon 100 at Pennsboro.
Well, overall, I mean, it was cool to see them racing at Pennsboro because, I never really saw much racing at Pennsboro because it was really before the heyday of the internet and streaming races. But I heard about Pennsboro a lot. As far as the racing action, I mean, it's a big track and it's a tight track in the corner, so it's not easy to pass. So the racing wasn't, they spread. I mean, the most exciting part of the racing was when the leaders caught up with the tail end of the field, and they had to work their way through traffic. I mean, if you listen to Bobby Pierce's Victory Lane interview from Thursday night, the first night, he kept saying, "This place is really sketchy." You know, because him and Moran really made a lot of contact in the final laps of the first feature, and Pierce wasn't real happy with that. But he goes, "You got to be using your heads on this place." But it was cool to see it. I was curious what it was going to be like with using temporary lights. But I thought the lighting was fairly decent. It didn't seem like there's a lot of dark spots. Using the temporary lights, though, makes streaming a little bit more difficult because the camera catches a big blob of light. So, your screen kind of just goes white for a little bit as they pass through the light. And as far as track conditions, I thought the track conditions were, there were no ruts. It wasn't rough at all. And, for a track to not be used for that long and for their first race to have a smooth track, I thought was an accomplishment.
Yeah, I talked to my buddy Thad, and he said the environment down there was really, really good. They said they had good crowd, very, very excited crowd to have racing back down there. He said the overall environment the whole weekend was just, he said he was down there. My buddy Thad was down there the whole weekend with Joe Bravo, and he said it was just a great event, great spectacle to be part of. And he said he got to give hats off to Barry on a job well done. Coach Kraus, I did have a question come up from a fan, though, because so night number 3, that was a big money night, of course. I think 30 grand to win, I think is what it was. And Bobby Pierce gets a flat. Actually, I think Nick Hoffman got a flat too. And they both go to the back. And Bobby Pierce, I think when he went back on the track, he was like 18th, 19th, and he drives to the win. Okay. Now, sounds impressive. Sure does. But the question that comes from Joel here is impressive, or is it overrated that he just passed a bunch of JV late models? Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, that was the one tough part about it was the quality. You basically had 3 guys. The tough part about it was if Moran and Pierce and Hoffman finished, you knew they were going to be 1, 2, 3, and they were. Like Bert said, the first night it was a really good race. Lap traffic's impossible there with that track shape and being it so narrow. And you come out of turn 2, you're hauling, and you got to shut her down getting into 3. So that was actually a really good race. And I didn't catch the day race, obviously watched the finale, but Pierce said it himself. He thought he was going to get about 5th or 6th because he was kind of caught there for a while. There's nowhere he could go, and everybody was kind of checked out. And it might have been a different ballgame if he doesn't catch them 2 yellows because you get so spread out at that place, and lap traffic's going to hold everybody up. So it would have been I think a completely different ballgame if he wouldn't have got them yellows. So, but obviously an impressive run. I don't care where you're at. You're going to a back at a big 5-ace track like that. Nobody's ever raced there before. That's still a heck of an accomplishment. I don't care who's there. So, like I said, he did a real good job getting through, and then had to make a little contact there to get by Moran. He had to take his opportunity to get by him when he had to, and then it was pretty much check out from there. So cool place. Like I said, they did a lot of work during it, moving the walls and, trying to accommodate the drivers. There was a lot of talk about safety at that place. So, Pierce said it. There were some other drivers worried about with the speeds and the guardrails and the walls and the lighting. And so I know they were trying to they were putting tires in some spots where there was some wall opening or some concrete, they were trying to help everybody. And so I'm glad they took safety first at that place, and, good grandstand, cool track. And it's good to see the fans come out and support that.
Well, practice night number 1, there was a lot of dark spots, right? So I saw some stuff on Facebook. It's like, holy cow. It was like light, dark. And let's face it couldn't have been cheap to get them portable lights there either. That had to have been pretty spendy. And he recognized the problem. Barry did right away. And he's like, this ain't going to work. We need more lights. And I think they got 10 more light plants for opening night. They literally Wednesday, they must have made some phone calls. They were there Thursday for the races. So So again, that's on the safety thing. So yeah, definitely paying attention and trying to do the best they can to not put drivers in harm's way for sure. Bert, any closing thoughts on Pennsboro before we jump on?
Bert is froze.
Is
Is
Bert
he
frozen?
Is he froze on your screen?
Bert is frozen on my screen.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you cheer for the frozen tundra team out there in the Packers. You just lock up and freeze.
Right?
Yeah.
Bert might have to log out and log back in, maybe. I'm not really sure. Bert left. He's gonna log back in. So technical difficulties. Bear with us. It is what it is. So that's probably on my end because I'm out in Pennsylvania here, bunch of Quakers. But well, this will give me an opportunity. A shout out to one of our sponsors before we lead into the next segment. Daytona One Performance Lubricants. So, Coach, I don't know if you saw Nick Hoff, Hard Charger Performance Specialties, put a beautiful testimonial out there. As he was one of our primary sponsors here for the most of 2024, he had an opportunity to meet the folks from Daytona One and learn about their products. Of course, he builds engines. He does a lot of stuff out there, but he got a hold of them, got their products, and had nothing but great stuff to say. You can look at our Facebook page, the One to Go Show Facebook page, and read what Nick had to say about the great products. And a lot of people think, oh man, tire treatment, because that's kind of what we talked about most, was the tire treatment, the conditioners, trying to make tires last longer. But they have so much more than that at Daytona One Performance Lubricants. They have a ton of different products. And look it up online, look at Facebook, and give Chad a call. He's the regional rep, 507-828-3536, and learn about all the great products they have to offer over there and see if that can help your program for 2025. Let's see if Bert's back in here. He is. All right. While Bert's logging back in here, let's stick with XR. So Bert is his screen is not on quite yet. He's got his screen off. Bert Lehman is back. He's back. So we gave a shout out to our sponsor there, Daytona One Performance Lubricants, Bert. And I'm going to stick with XR though, because I have a question that came from John. Okay. And we mentioned it. So Coach mentioned it, a little bit of a lack of talent at this last race. And it's saying nothing against regional drivers, local drivers. When I'm talking talent, I'm talking your top tier national touring late model drivers. And they had, of course, Bobby Pierce, Devin Moran, Nick Hoffman were the main three. T Carp was there, Freddie Carpenter. There was a few other pretty good regional guys in there. But you think back the last couple of years, the XR Super Series, they had some big races. They had like several 100,000 to win races, and it was like everybody was at the XR races. This year, not so much. This year, it was a totally different feel with the lack of talent following the XR Super Series, specifically in the late models. Do you guys think it is kind of becoming almost unwatchable? I have thoughts on that, but I'm going to let you guys answer that. Are you guys like super excited to tune in to some of these XR late model races knowing that there's like two guys there? Or was it more exciting to tune in when there was 15 to 20 of the top drivers at these events? Your thoughts?
Okay, before I give my thoughts, you're still recording, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's not showing up on mine, but that's because probably I log back in. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously it's more exciting. The more quality drivers that you have, it's more exciting to watch the race. And I look forward to a race, but more if there's more quality drivers than just a couple of quality drivers. One thing with XR, it seems like they try racing at different or unique tracks, and but they don't build any, I don't know if continuity is the right word, but they're not building a history for their races. It seems like they're jumping around from track to track every year.
You're spot on, and it seems like that maybe. So Coach Kraus left. Boy, we're having it's a shit show here today, guys. It's just a shit show. So All right. So where I was going with that is he's always doing something different, right? It's just never the same thing. It's always, let's try this. And I looked at it, and maybe profitability wise, I'm gonna look to see if he's back in there. He's not. Profitability wise for him, maybe some of them bigger shows, maybe that just wasn't profitable. Maybe they just were not working. Coach Kraus is back. I'm gonna let him in. Try to anyway. All right, Coach Kraus back in the house now. So, boy, Coach, he's a shit show. I tell you, our technical. So this, incidentally, all these problems are not our editors. Kraus is completely sideways in here, kind of like he was in the Super Stock. Kind of. Oh, there he is. Now he's back, and now he's straightened it out. But Coach, we were saying that Barry's always doing something different, right? I mean, he just never really sticks with the same thing. Maybe it's a profitability deal. I have no idea, but I would have to think on the late model side of it specifically, moving into 2025, is he going to have to do something completely different in 2025 than what he did in 2024 to make this deal work? Because there was several races that he had that only had 16, 17, 18, 19, less than 20 cars. And some of them were freaking good money, right? There was 50 grand to win show that had barely any cars at it. It's like, I don't understand. I mean, it's like he's trying, but maybe Bert's right. Maybe it's just because it's never the same thing. Maybe drivers are like, shit, we can't schedule around this guy because half the time the schedule changes 15 times throughout the season. We don't even know what's going on. And I think maybe that's a part of it too. But is it going to be a lot different look in 2025? Would you predict that than it was in 2024?
Yeah, I think it's going to have to be. And I think a lot of these drivers are budgeted right now. They got a certain amount of races. Here, I'm running Lucas. I'm running the World Sprints. I'm going to run the Eldoras, the Dreams, and the couple of the other bigger ones. And when Lucas is off, I'm going to hit some WO shows. And I definitely think that's going to play in the deal. It's just a budget deal. And can you run? I mean, at the end of the day, with Lucas and World Outlaws, then you got the Castros always running. They had a bunch of troubles with rainouts and stuff too, and rescheduling, and they're running Tuesdays or Wednesdays. XR was doing some midweek stuff, and they were just kind of scheduling, on top of where, hey, like when they came to this area, cars were in Cedar Lake, so they'd run Ogilvie or do a swing here and there. I just think a lot of it's just these teams are budgeted. They're kind of picking and choosing where they're going to go, and I think it started off well, and then once the top 3, 4, 5 guys in points, they had to stay with it because there was a little bit of money on that line there with the point fund. The rest of the guys just said, it's not going to be worth me to travel around this series to get 10th in the series and not get very much money. So there's a lot to go into it, but I think a lot more has to do with is the financial side of things right now than anything.
Well, and talking about the financial side of it, I mean, when XR first started doing races, they threw a lot of money around. And I mean, Barry even took credit for this in a Facebook post. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, basically taking credit for the other series starting to throw money around then too, increasing purses for races, increasing the points or increasing the amount of money you make if you win the championship and that sort of thing. And with the other series now paying more money, to Coach's point, those drivers can just race those series and they don't have to go race at the XR series to make that money.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to do something completely different to make a splash to get drivers to buy in, because even the drivers that were 3rd, 4th, 5th in points, they weren't even at this last race, so it's like, I mean, they only had the top 2 in points even there, no Gustin. I think Gustin was 3rd. He wasn't there. So it's like definitely interesting. And quite honestly, from my own perspective, the 2 best races he had all year weren't even late model races. The big deal mod race and then the stock car race at Farley, those, in my opinion, if you look back on 2024 for XR, I would say those would be the 2 marquee events that really stuck out to me this year, and they weren't even late model races. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in 2025. Knowing Barry, he's got something up his sleeve, so I would definitely stay tuned, and we'll try to keep a pulse on it here at the One to Go show. So Vinny Well, go ahead.
Before we move on, the point I was making when my phone froze, and I read this on Dirt, but right now Bobby Pierce has made just under $1.2 million, and if he would win the World of Outlaw Championship, the XR Championship, and the Castro Championship, that would be another 300,000. So it'd put him about 1.5 million.
That's a pretty good year. That's about like racing weekly at Hibbing or Viking Speedway. I'm pretty sure it's pretty similar to that. I mean, there's no doubt. Bobby Pierce, driver of the year, it's not even close, right? I mean, the season could end right now and it's not even a conversation, or he could not win another race and RTJ could win the rest of them. And I would say it would still be Bobby Pierce, driver of the year. So, hell of a year for the 32. With that said, though, is that done? Right? I mean, is that done? Is he, Coach, is he fucked? Right? Now, I get it. Some of the women on the show are going to be a little pissed off about this comment, but it came from Changa. All right? So, Changa always told me cuddling makes you slow, right? He was my crew chief. I just listened to what he had to say. So, congratulations, of course, Bobby Pierce getting engaged here this past week. But we looked at what happened to Sheppy, right? I say it all the time. Sheppy got slow. Why? Because he became domesticated. Well, now Bobby Pierce going to get married, probably going to have a kid coming, not so far down the road. Is becoming domesticated going to slow down the 32?
Nope. Changa, you are out in left field like you usually always are. And not at Yankee Stadium or Dodger Stadium. You're out in left field at like old Met Stadium or what was it, Fulton County Stadium? Is that what it was, Bert?
Where?
Milwaukee. Was it old Fulton County Stadium? Is that what it was called?
Just County Stadium.
Just County Stadium? Oh, something like that. So
Fulton County Stadium was in Atlanta.
Oh, well, whatever. Close enough. Atlanta, Green Bay. But we mopped up on both of them back in the day. Wanted World Series over all of them anyway. So no, Changa's out in left field. My heydays were when I was married. I don't know. I won all my championships and finished my top 10 in national points. Got all my feature wins when I did get married. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to slow him down. She's a racer. She's on board. She's there all the time. Nothing's going to change. It's not. Shepard's family was at home. He was away from home. She's with them. She's on the road with them, traveling the whole 9 yards, running T-shirts, trailer. So maybe Changa should do a little research before he starts spouting off his mouth about the whole situation and not just saying, oh, he's getting married, he's screwed. Do some research, figure out what's going on. Everybody's different, completely different ball game. So again, Changa is wrong.
All right, time will tell. Time will tell. If he starts off slow next year and doesn't win races and he's looking, we're gonna know why. Okay, so we'll stay attuned to that as well. So Vinny had a question here. So Lance Matthews, of course, getting inducted into the 2025 class of the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame. We talked about that last week. Congratulations again to him. And he said, what other regional Wissota area drivers are currently in the Hall of Fame? And what drivers maybe have been snubbed that maybe should be looked at next to be added? So the ones that are in, and I kind of made a list on this here, is of our area, right? It's a long list, but 2005, both Tom Nesbitt, Rick Auckland, they were both inducted in 2005. I believe 2001 was the first class. They were inducted in 2005. 2006, somebody from over in Bert's neck of the woods, Pete Parker, inducted in. And then we jump over to 2013, a guy that I don't think of as necessarily a Wissota area guy. He's a Minnesota guy, but you don't really, all the years of Wissota racing, he was never a Wissota guy, but he was a Minnesota guy, Willie Kraft in 2013. 2016, one of my favorite drivers as a kid, half the reason I had the 71 on the car, Leon Plank, inducted in 2016. 2018, the Iceman Jimmy Mars and the Cook family, of course, that ran the Cedar Lake Speedway they founded it and ran it for years. So the Cook family as a whole inducted in 2018. And then 2023, Rick Eggersdorf inducted into the Hall of Fame. So them are the drivers that are in our area, okay, that are congratulations, all well deserving of that. If you guys, thought about Wissota area, eastern Wisconsin, whatever it may be, who are maybe the top couple people that come to mind? Like, here's a couple that probably should be in sooner rather than later. And there's a lot that had pretty good careers, but I got a couple on my list. We'll see what you guys come up with first. So, Bert, let's start with you.
I mean, when I think of being inducted into the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame, I think, not only, I mean, you need to be an exceptional driver in your area, but you also need to have some success around the country. And in eastern Wisconsin, I mean, the drivers really don't travel across the country. I mean, the only one I can think of, well, I shouldn't say the only one, but I mean, some people say I'm a homer for saying this, but I mean, MJ McBride comes to mind. I mean, he's got like 15 track championships in eastern Wisconsin. I mean, he has raced in Florida. He has raced at Pennsboro. I've seen pictures, and, he's raced at other tracks, but he really doesn't have any wins, in national divisions. He did finish 4th in the World 100 in 1974.
A top 5 in the World 100 is a pretty cool deal. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know many other drivers from our area that can say they had a top 5 in the World 100. Is Coach Kraus froze up again, or is he looking? Oh, you're looking at some shit. He was studying there. So I did not realize that MJ McBride had a top 5 in a World 100. That's a pretty big deal right there. That would have been pretty fun to see. That would have been great for the local contingent. So you're going to go with MJ. Probably more than anybody in your area. Anybody else as a whole throughout the Wissota region that comes to mind?
Well, I was going to say Eggersdorf, but he was just inducted. I mean, did Dwayne Mader travel much? Nationally?
Not a ton. He was a good racer, but he didn't. He didn't really run a lot of national stuff. I'm sure he ran USA Nationals and some WDRL stuff like that.
What about Mitch Johnson? Did he race nationally?
Mitch Johnson did run some national stuff, and that's a guy that I definitely have on my list. Mitch. So when I think the Dakotas and the South Dakota guys, not this ain't a snub on them. They just didn't travel my way. So when I was growing up, I didn't see your Arments and Doug Dingers and Kurt Gellings, and I didn't see them guys very often. Mitch Johnson, on the other hand, did. He traveled everywhere throughout the whole Wissota region. And Mitch Johnson, one of the best drivers to strap in. When I think North Dakota late model drivers, it's Rick Auckland, Mitch Johnson. It's those two. And Mitch Johnson, definitely very, very deserving. That's a good one right there. Coach, how about you? Who comes to mind?
Boy, I don't know. That's a rough one. I mean, obviously, the first one that comes to mind is obviously Pat Dorr. And I think once he finishes racing, I'm pretty sure he was the World Outlaw Rookie of the Year, was he not? The year he ran it?
Yeah. But there's a lot of drivers. In fact, a large number of drivers in the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame that either are, like Lance Matthews still racing, right? Jimmy Mars was definitely still racing when he got inducted. Billy Moyer, so the fact that he's still racing, he's still eligible for sure, because they're not afraid to. And now, with that said, I would prefer to see people out of the sport for a while, then get inducted, in my own opinion. So, but that's not necessarily how they do that all the time over there.
Yeah, for sure. And I was going to bring up Mitch Johnson as well. Obviously fortunate enough to see him race a bunch, obviously being from, the Fargo area and the big half mile, and he used to come over here. And like you said, he traveled. He was one of those guys that did travel a little bit too. So, it's a fine line there with, local Wissota guys,
Am I going to have to give you a fucking donkey award?
What's that?
Am I going to have to give you a donkey award? Literally, I got the number one guy on my list, right? The number one. He ran won a shit ton of races at the Viking Speedway. The top guy on my list. I cannot believe that somebody that went to the Viking Speedway their whole life didn't have this. I can't believe this guy hasn't come out.
Yeah, no, you are right. He's actually a buddy of mine. I got to know him real well. He's in the Viking Speedway Hall of Fame. Jeff Hinkemeyer is definitely one. You got to remember, he started on the Busch All-Star Tour. I've been trying to brainstorm here. I can't believe I didn't think of him either. He started on the Busch All-Star Tour, which turned into WDRL. I don't know if you guys, if Bert, you're aware of that a little bit. You know, with the Kaziskis and Roger Dolan and Steve Frazee and, you know, all those guys used to come up to Viking and run. And then that's where we first saw Jeff Hinkemeyer. And then obviously you knew he was the out of St. Cloud. I mean, you knew the Salners. We knew all those guys, and we had a Salner Memorial race at Viking Speedway too. So he's definitely one for sure. It's in the Viking Speedway Hall of Fame, and you know, one of the reasons, and I got to know him actually really well. Actually, you know, Blair, my pit guy, is actually related to Jeff. Somewhere down the lines, they're related there. So we got to know him real well, and one of the main reasons why he turned Viking Speedway in his hometown track. He loved coming here during the Busch All-Star Tour, and he liked the track so much. He started racing here, and tell you what, I've been a lot of late model races, Bert, but watching Jeff Wildung and Jeff Hinkemeyer go at it at the half mile at Viking Speedway, to be honest with you, and actually Rick Auckland was in a few of them as well. So there was nothing like that battle. So yeah, he's definitely one too. And you know, you could throw in guys like, you know, Jeff Wildung, and I mean, say what you want to say, Zach Johnson. I mean, you could even throw in Ricky Weiss if he gets a little bit older with what he's done nationally, what he's done with WISSOTA wise. So I think we're fortunate enough to have some, you know, pretty big time names around here at that level.
Yeah, and before Hinkemeyer ran, you know, some of that stuff you were talking about, he used to run up in Hibbing, like in the early 80s. You know, he'd run like Thunder Bay on a Wednesday, Superior, Hibbing, Proctor, and he was number 13 for a number of years before he drove for Joel Salmer and became the 4F that we all got to know in his later years. But I'm actually going to fill out the paperwork, to be honest with you. And I don't know how there's a nomination deal on the National Dirt Late Model Hall of Fame website, and I'm actually going to nominate him because he's out of all the drivers, and I got a few more on the list that are definitely had good careers, but he kind of raced all over the place. Jeff Hinkemeyer is probably the top of the list for me personally. Ricky Weiss is one of the drivers that did it on the national scene. He's won kind of all over the country. 5 WISSOTA late model national, and I get it. He's super young. I mean, I know it's kind of in a little bit of a downturn of his racing career right now, but the fact is, he's already had. If he stopped today, he has a Hall of Fame career. He's won kind of all over. 5 national championships, I believe, in WISSOTA. Brady Smith, very short career, but Brady Smith is a guy that comes to mind. I ran against him in the super stocks. He was tough, and he jumped up into the late models, and you know, he won. Did he win Knoxville?
Knoxville, yes.
Yeah. You know, so I mean, that right there, you know, he won tons of WISSOTA specials. He won on the national scene. He was very competitive, and then just out of the blue, he decided, you know what, I'm done, and decided to raise a family and go a different direction. But he was a very talented racer. And then a handful of WISSOTA centric cars. You know, of course, Jeff Wildung was on my list. Pat Dorr, John Canta has had a very accomplished career. Joel Kreiderman, Jerry Radetsky, Steve Larson. So there's a handful there that have had some incredible careers. But if I had to put number one on the list for me would be, of course, Jeff Hinkemeyer. So hopefully we can see him get in and not so far down the road here. One more question I got. This one came from Anonymous. Did you see Hoosier's press release, Hoosier Tire? Did you see that? Bert, did you see that?
Yes.
I don't know what happened. I have it sounds like there was something at a tire test, and one of the I have no idea. But there was some kind of either it was a physical or a highly verbal confrontation. But let's just be completely honest. None of us are big fans of how Hoosiers kind of operated over the last several years here, and that's not Hoosier Tire North or any distributor. That's Hoosier Corporate, which is owned by Continental Tire. The way that they run the show has just not been a good deal. It's just not. The quality has been absolutely garbage. They keep jacking the prices up to the oblivion and don't answer to anybody. So there's a lot of people in the racing community not happy with Hoosier. Not sure it needs to get to the. I don't know what happened, if it got physical or whatever. Sounds like somebody went maybe a little bit off the deep end, and I know that's hard to believe in the racing community. That shit never really happens, but it certainly did. So it's interesting that they had to put out a press release basically saying that, yeah, let's simmer down a little bit. So, Kraus, any word on the Hoosier contract with Wasota, or are you anticipating that coming out at the national meeting here? What is that, in 2 weeks? Is that 2 weeks away?
Yeah, it's 2 weeks away. That's what it sounds like. We're going to get the full details then. So I haven't heard nothing. I haven't absolutely heard nothing. So hopefully, obviously we need to know. Everybody needs to know. Drivers need to know. Tracks, all that stuff need to know. So we know what's going on with that Hoosier Tire deal. Like I said, the plan is everything I've heard will be during the meetings during the national banquet.
Are you going?
That's the plan. I'll go back down there. I got to check the schedule out here, see what I got going on. But now that they kind of move things to Thursday and Friday, makes it easier for me to get to. It's not all on the weekends. I'm pretty sure we got a home game too. So should be able to get down to those meetings and check things out and get an update with what's going on the Wasota side of things.
Sounds good. Yeah, keep us posted on that, of course. So let's jump into our 2024.
Hey,
what do you got?
I have one thing. I just thought of this. Because when you were saying some of the drivers that you think could be worthy of Hall of Fame. Now, when I listed my criteria, I said, racing on a national scene. I mean, what do you think of Nick Evelink's resume?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And how about Terry?
Well, Terry was the other driver I was thinking of too.
Because I did look through the list of all the drivers, and there's a lot of people, a lot of them I haven't heard of, that were kind of regional drivers in their own right that must have been like very, very good regional drivers. So they aren't all national drivers that we all know. So, I mean, I would say if you had a standout career on a regional level, that you're definitely worthy.
Well,
so the Anvilinks, definitely.
And Russ Scheffler would be another one. I mean, I know he's raced at Eldora because I've seen him race in person at Eldora. So he's traveled a little bit, and I think he has like 12 to 15 track titles at Hales Corners. And okay, yeah. So I need to open up my criteria, or open it up a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll have to talk a little bit more about that off the camera and just kind of look through that and kind of put our heads together. So the Pick'em segment brought to you by Brad Parsons Soil and Ag Solutions. And if you're a farmer over in western Minnesota, the Dakotas, and you're looking, how can we be more profitable? From everything I understand, corn prices are way down, right? Well, that's not good. That's not good for farmers, right? That's less profitability. Well, the only way to combat that at all is to have a higher yield. How do you get a higher yield? That's having the right stuff in your spray packages. Well, I don't know shit about that, but Brad Parsons certainly does. In fact, I know several people that have used his product and had success. They had to see if maybe we could get a testimonial from some of them. But get a hold of Brad, 320-219-3542, and learn about the products they have to offer that can help you with your farming in 2025. And between him, myself, of course, Worker Bee, that's Kent, and then Matt, Amsoil Matt, we all threw in a little extra money. So the top person at the end of the year in our pick'ems is going to get to pick a driver. We're going to give some money back to the racers. So we're kind of excited about that for 2025 to see who we pick out to be sponsored in 2025. And we'll probably, just because I know we don't need a target on their back, so we'll probably make dang sure that we put the sponsors that are actually contributing, maybe put up some kind of a logo there rather than the One to Go Show logo, because we don't want anybody getting in trouble with Billy. All right, we don't need that to happen. We don't need no targets. All right.
And how sad is it that we even have to say that and do that?
That is ridiculous, right? I know we give Billy a lot of shit, but I would say that about 99.9% of it is highly warranted. So again, we're not the problem. We're just pointing out the problem on this show. So hopefully y'all can remember that. So this past week, the winners, the movers and shakers this past week, Bromance and Dano plus 13, Worker Bee plus 12, Curtis plus 11, myself and Man Bun Dan plus 10, Changa +9, Bert, Beefcake, and Uper +8, and Coach +7. He kind of brought up the bottom of the barrel there in the 29 star. Must have been a DNF again, I'm guessing. Probably hit a tire. All right. So our points right now, Curtis is at 431, 5 points ahead of Changa. There's a battle up front for the lead. I'm in striking distance, but I'm kind of in no man's land right here. I'm at 417. I'm 14 back. So I got a little work to do to catch them guys. Seems like we picked the same people lately too. Now the battle here is 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. That's kind of tight. Uper's at 356, Dano's at 353, Bert's at 350, Worker Bee 349, Coach 343, Man Bun Dan 339. So it's pretty tight. There's definitely a lot of movement that can happen there. Just got to make sure that you get all your picks in time so they get counted, right, Bert?
Well, yes. I sent my
What
picks.
happened there? So by the way, Bromance at 315 and Beefcake at 271. So Bert did not get his picks in for Marshalltown on time. This came from our statistician. I let him make the decision on this because he's not in striking distance for the top 3 right now anyway. But there was heats on Friday, features on Saturday. So the picks were all due by Friday. Well, he didn't send the picks didn't get to Uper beforehand. So the lineups were already set for the feature when Bert sent his picks in for Marshalltown.
I didn't look at I picked my drivers, but I wanted to see a full list of drivers who are going to be there before I actually sent in my picks. And then I forgot about it. And I had a work function on Saturday. I had to get up at 4:15, and I forgot about it. And then you guys sent the text. So we went to the bar after our work function. So I just sent in my picks. I didn't even look at the lineup. So, but I didn't get him in on time. So yeah.
He didn't fight it. Yeah, he didn't fight it. It's like, boy, it would have really sucked though if you're battling for the lead.
I would have had 3 more points.
You would have had 3 more, so you would have been up in you'd have been tied with Dano here. You'd have been in 5th. So I guess, if everybody Coach, what do you think? Should we just go ahead and allow them 3 points, or is he just shit out of luck on this one?
Well, A, you should be change Bert's name to Pinocchio. And then B,
I didn't look at the lineups.
Or B, you must be sponsored by Davis Technologies, Bert, because this is twice now you've been trying cheating. You're cheating, Bert. You're cheating. You're flat out cheating. So you should get sponsored by Davis Technologies and then get a Pinocchio outfit. It is Halloween tomorrow. Okay, you can dress up as Pinocchio. I already got you a costume. Okay, and you're cheating the system, Bert. This is all you're trying to do is cheat the system.
I got to be honest, Bert. I'm kind of proud of you. I wish I would have thought of some of this shit that you're trying to pull off here. So this week, we're not submitting our picks till Friday because some of these races we have no clue who's going to be there. Hunt the Front late models Friday, Saturday. They're in Sweetwater, Tennessee at the I-75 Speedway. USMTF canceled, right? Boot Hill's off. They canceled, I believe, for the weekend.
Yes.
I think they pulled the pin. Then we're doing Puka Special, the 50th annual National 100 XR Super Series late models, East Alabama. I think they have 17 classes of cars, probably going to be about a 12-hour program. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday deal. So I'm not sure how they kind of have it all spread out. Maybe they kind of have it situated to where not everybody's running. But XR Super Series is going to race there. And then at Charlotte, the dirt track at Charlotte, they have the World Short Track Championships, a dirt car sanctioned event at Charlotte. The A mains are on Saturday. We're going to pick the UMP dirt car modifieds and the 604 late models. So if you remember, Kraus, Tyler Cater went down there last year, ran up in the top 5. He had a 5th place. He had a good run down there. I'm not sure if he's going again. I didn't get a chance to reach out to him, but I know he went down there, had a really solid run last year. So if any of our guys go down there, good luck. And then the last one we're going to pick, we thought East Bay was done, did a little research. They're not on my race pass for this event. I just happened to be kind of scrolling on Facebook and I came across it. They're hosting the Rusty Dixon Memorial Race Saturday night at East Bay for modifieds. I don't think it's a UMP dirt car sanction. I think it's just UMP style modifieds. 10,000 to win. I was really hoping Buzzy Adams was making the trip, and he kind of talked about it. He's not going to be going, but they'll have a good contingent of cars down there for 10 large. Kraus, it's 10 grand, 8 grand, 6 grand, 4, 3. I mean, it's deep. It pays good all the way down. So hopefully they get a good turnout. And if I had a modified, I'd be on my way, because it's the last opportunity anybody's ever going to get to race at East Bay, because next week they have an auction and everything's getting sold. So it is a done deal. This is the last chance. This one here, FYE.TV, Dirt Race Central, it is going to be streamed on there, so we'll get an opportunity to watch it on Saturday night as well. All right. 3 bold predictions brought to you by the editor to our show. We sure made the work cut out for him this week with all of our technical difficulties. But Coach Kraus, give Brandon a shout out here.
Yes, Elevate-Visual Video Production. Brandon is a licensed drone operator. He also does commercials for businesses, anything to do with videos. Make sure you get a hold of Brandon at elevate-visual.com. You hop on his Facebook page and check things out.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Brandon, for all you do. I know we're kind of a headache for him half the time. So you came off the board here, Bert, this past week. You said Jake Tim would have at least one win with the other race, or he'd have 2 podiums with one of them being a win. Well, they only got one night in, but it was 23rd. So even if they got both nights, that was going to be a wrong deal there. They raced at 81. They did not race at Lakeside. That rained out. Jim Chisholm won, and that 23rd place finish for Jake Tim with that DNF. That was a bad point night for him. Jim Chisholm definitely going to be in the driver's seat with just a handful of races to go to win the 2024 USMTS Modified Championship. I had a couple come off the board. I said Turbo Tyler Erb was going to podium both nights at Why Not? Well, he won night number 2, and I even got kind of a freebie, right? Because he runs split features on night number 1. I'm like, well, in theory, that should be easier to podium. Well, in the split feature deal, he got 6th. So he got 6th night 1, first night 2. I did not get that one right. Then I said both Carson Macedo and Jake Tim, who are currently 2nd. Both of them are 2nd in their respective standings, World of Outlaw Sprints and USMTS Mods. I said they're each going to gain a minimum of 15 points on the leader this past weekend. Well, Macedo gained points. I think it was like 2. I'm not sure what the difference is between 1st and 2nd, but he won. Gravel got 2nd. Jake Tim lost a bunch of points. I got that one wrong as well. The Uper had 2 of them come off the board here. The first one, USMTS Action, he said the combination of Jake Tim and Tanner Mullins would have a better average finish. Of course, they got one night in, but they'd have a better average finish than Jim Chisholm and Rodney Sanders. Well, Tim got 23rd, Mullins got 5th, but Chisholm got 1st, Sanders got 19th, so he got that one wrong. And then, listen, here's one for you, Kraus. Tell me here's a bad beat for you. His prediction last week was California-based drivers are going to sweep the podiums at Riverside. Okay, so where's Riverside?
California.
You cut out there. See if I can hear you.
California?
No, sir. It is not. It's West Memphis, Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was California. He thought it was California. We all thought it was California. So he said California-based drivers are going to sweep the podiums at Riverside. He assumed it was at California. Well, only 3 California cars even showed up to the event because it's in West Memphis, Arkansas. Macedo did win. He's California-based, but the other 2 did not finish on the podium. So speaking of doing a little research, our old statistician might want to maybe look at what track they're racing at before he makes bold predictions. I'm just going to go ahead and point that one out. And then Changa had one come off the board here, Kraus, and I want your comment on this one. Here was his prediction last week. Bobby Pierce and Devin Moran. Now, this was when we already knew who was going to be there, okay? Bobby Pierce and Devin Moran will go 1-2 all 3 nights at Pennsboro.
God.
I want your comment on that. Should he even get credit for that nonsense? Or
No.
I mean, he got it right.
No, absolutely not. Typical Changa BS again, Bert. We got to put a halt to this. All he does is chirp. He chirps nonstop on our text thread. He's chirping here. He's chirping there. I'm just basically getting sick of him. Okay, the way he's chirping all the time. Then he's gonna. Does he understand what the word bold means? It's not the little B you click on the top of your for Microsoft Word. It's not the little B that you click on to make your letters bold when you're typing, Changa. This is an actual bold prediction. That means you got to go out on a limb and make a prediction. Hey, let's take Pearson Moran. Oh, they're going to finish 1-2. Yeah, no, don't count.
Yeah, that talk about a tap in goal right there. Yeah. So our we keep track of correct. Go ahead, Bert.
I should have had another one come off.
Oh, okay.
2 weeks ago, I predicted that the winner at Pennsboro would start on the front row.
That was an interesting one. That did happen, and I actually predicted that he wouldn't. I believe so. Yeah. So we'll have to go back. I think he only went. I know he has some medical stuff. He was down in Rochester here, so we'll have to go back over the last ones. We'll make sure them get off the board. But with that said, I think I went opposite of you. So I think you got one right. I got one wrong. It's probably
and the funny thing is, I mean, he started on the front row, but then he went to the back and came back to win.
Yeah, that was definitely a lucky one there for you. Otherwise, it was kind of like that was almost like the way the track turned out. That would have been basically the same as Pierce and Moran going 1-2 all 3 nights, but coming from the back after a flat tire makes that one a little bit more viable there. So yeah, so there's another one for Bert. All right, so correct predictions and counting that one. Uper's at 29. I'm at 23. Coach and Bert will both be at 21, and the Peanut Gallery has some work to do there at 20. Percentage correct. Uper's at 31.2. I'm at 24.5. Coach is at 23.9. Peanut Gallery at 23.3, and Bert at 21.1. However, that number will go up slightly because of that other correct prediction there. So, fans, if you ever have any predictions, right? If you're like, hey, I got a bold prediction to throw out there or whatever, throw a message text us, message us, hit us up, and maybe we can add your prediction to the group here and see if we can get the Peanut Gallery back up front. So we make 3 laps around the track to end the show. 3 bold predictions, and I'm going to say they're bold. So we give ourselves shit and say they're not so bold, but our percentages are not very high. So clearly they're bolder than what we think they are. They don't feel like they're that bold sometimes, but they got to be racing related. They did happen, didn't happen. We keep track of, correct predictions here and give ourselves shit when we get them wrong. So Bert, we'll start with you. We'll go to Coach Kraus. Then we'll go to Then I got Upers and I got my own here. So Bert, your first prediction.
I'm gonna go XR late model racing and say Devin Moran will finish higher than Bobby Pierce in both features.
So Devin Moran finished higher than you cut out on my end on the show, but
we'll have a better finishing position in the features than Bobby Pierce.
At the XR race this weekend?
Yes.
Okay, and do they both have it on their schedule? I looked at Pierce's schedule. It wasn't on there.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look at his schedule.
Yeah, so I'm assuming he's going to go, but it's not on there right now. So,
well, he's leading points, isn't he?
Yeah, but they got a bunch of throwaway shows, and he might have it clinched off the throwaways. So you're going Moran higher. This is assuming if they're both there.
If they're both there.
Yeah, if Moran's got to have a higher finishing position than Pierce if they're both there. Okay, that's your first one. Coach Kraus.
Well, I was just watching Cheater Boy Otani. Mr. Gambler just struck out with the bases loaded, so that's a good thing. Just sad to say I got to be a Yankees fan for a couple of days here. As much as we hate the Yankees because the Minnesota Twins are 0-9,418 against them in the postseason the last 20 years. We got to cheer for them because I don't want the Dodgers to win. So I'm going to Charlotte. I'm going to the World Finals, and I'm going to go World of Outlaw Sprint Car Regulars will sweep the podium all 3 nights.
Wow. World of Outlaw regulars will sweep the podiums all 3 nights in the sprint cars. All right, that's bold. That's bold. I don't know who's all going to be there, but I'm guessing there's going to be some high limit heat there as well. All right. Uper's first prediction, he's going to go late model racing this weekend. And what his prediction is, the Hunt the Front late model race at I-75 will have a better quantity and quality than the XR race at East Alabama. Now, when he's going by quality, how he's quantifying this is top 20 drivers in Lucas or World of Outlaws. Okay, so there will be more top 20 Lucas World of Outlaw drivers in the top, there'll be more of them at the Hunt the Front race than the XR race. So more quality and quantity of those specific drivers. So I would say that's probably a bunt on that one, but we'll give it to him. I am going to go modified racing, and I'm not sure which one he's going to be at. I think he's going to East Bay, but I'm not positive. They're kind of based out of Charlotte. Ethan Dotson will win either the race at East Bay or the race at Charlotte, whichever one he goes to. I believe he's racing a modified this weekend. But the finale of those 2 races, whichever one he's at, Ethan Dotson will win one of those races this weekend in the modified. All right, Bert, your second one.
Going on that modified thing, this one's just for Coach. I will say Kyle Strickler will have a modified feature win where I don't even know if he's going to any of those. I'm assuming he will. We'll have a feature win this week in a modified.
Nice. That's for Kraus right there. That's Kraus's boy. High side tickler, Kyle Strickler. All right, Coach.
I'm going to go to East Bay, and I'm going to say the winner of that mod racer is going to be some no-name guy we've never heard of. It's going to be some not even close. We haven't even heard of. Don't know who it is. It's not going to be a popular driver. It's going to be some no-name winner.
That is very close to Uper's second prediction. It's not the same, so I'm going to go with his second prediction. So we'll have to quantify if we consider that person a no-name driver or whatever. We can figure that out between us 3. But he's going with the Rusty Dixon Memorial A-Main winner, the final mod race ever held at the East Bay Raceway Park, is going to be won by a driver that has never been there before. A first-time visitor to East Bay will win Saturday night in the modified division. So I might have to do a little research after we find out who wins. Might be easy, but might have to do a little digging. My second one, I'm going to go XR Super Series 2025. He likes to shake things up a little bit, and I don't think he likes what the status quo and the low car counts and so on and so forth. There will be at least 2 $100,000 to win or higher late model races for the XR Super Series in 2025. This year there was 0. Last year I think there was 6, on the schedule, maybe, or 5. This year there was 0. There will be at least 2 that are $100,000 to win or more for the XR Super Series late models in 2025. Bert?
I'm going to go Hunt the Front late models and say Ashton Winger will have 2 podium finishes in the Hunt the Front. 2 races this
year. Ashton Winger, 2 top 5 finishes this weekend in Hunt the Front action. Okay.
Top 3 podium.
Okay. Yeah, you cut out, so
okay.
Trying to read your lips, so that's my technical difficulties. So a pair of podiums for Air Force Ashton Winger. Coach Kraus.
I'm going to Charlotte again because I want to get a head start on these bold predictions. I'm sure everybody's going to do it next weekend. RTJ will not make an A-main in the sprint car.
Are you fucking with me right now? Like, literally, you're giving Chonga shit about his bunt. And hey, nobody else is racing. All the good cars are going to be there, and RTJ, who's not a sprint car driver, is not going to make the feature any of the 3 nights. That is like literally, that's like, okay, they pulled their goalie and the puck's sitting in front. We're just going to tap it in. I mean, whatever. We'll give it to you. I hope
Hey,
that fucker makes it so.
he's supposed to be Mr. All World, the great Kyle Larson, and it's RTJ. I'm just saying, he's not going to do it, man.
I'm telling you right now, I hope he does. I hope he does. RTJ, no A main. You're not going to make any features in the A mains for the sprint cars at the World Finals. Okay. So Uper's third and final prediction was the USMTS mod one. Of course, they canceled, so we're just going to ixnay that. I'm going to go World Finals as well. And I'm going to go late models here. Jonathan Davenport will win at least one of the 3 nights in the Rumley ride at Charlotte. Jonathan Davenport will win at least one of the 3. Of course, he's driving the Rumley car, and he'll get it done. Whoever seems to get in that car, they win races. And that place is usually pretty slippery. So JD at least 1 win at the World Finals in the Rumley ride. So there it is, folks. Episode 244 in the book, and I got to get back on the road here. Hopefully it comes out clear for everybody because I had lots of technical difficulties on my end. Bert, I know you had something to add here. What do you got?
Well, just a quick tidbit. We found out today Dan Ebert's plans for next year. He posted a video on Facebook, and he is going to be racing a rocket chassis following the Lucas Oil Series next year.
I was surprised by that. I kind of heard that he was getting a rocket. The tie-in, I believe, with Fox Shocks and all that kind of made sense. I thought that we'd see him go in World of Outlaw racing, to be honest with you.
In the video, he flat out said he's going Lucas because the Rocket One cars. It just makes sense for him to be racing in the same races where he can get information from Mark Richards.
Yeah, and that makes sense. So that tells you right there, whoever's driving the Rocket House car is going to follow Lucas. So if Sheppy goes to the Rocket House car, is World of Outlaws losing a marquee driver? That could be interesting. And if they lose him, is Pierce going to follow suit and go that way because there's more money on the line also? So silly season is here. It's going to be fun to see. Well, I'll tell you about the Pierce deal. I don't believe he's going to go Lucas Oil because not that this can't change, but he already has part of his 2025 schedule out, and he has back-to-back weekends in New Zealand on there. And they coincide. I believe we can look at it, but I believe they coincide with the Lucas shows down there. So he's already planning on going to New Zealand again. Not that can't change or whatever, but that's something to keep an eye on as well. So yeah, good luck. Dan Ebert's a good race car driver. So I think he'll transition well. Smart move following around the XR, Rocket One house car team. That's very smart right there because you're going to be able to kind of get your hand held a little bit by somebody that's got a shit ton of experience on the series. So probably a pretty good move by them guys. So good luck to Dan Ebert in 2025. So, all right, folks, I'm Ryan. That is Coach Kraus. That's Bert Lehman. As always, thanks for tuning in to the One to Go Show.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please leave a review and subscribe. It is Puka. And Goat Sports has another show out there by podcast, Facebook, and YouTube. It's the Tea with Miss McGill show. Covers hockey, high school hockey in northern Minnesota. So if you're into hockey, you can find us on podcast under Tea with Miss McGill. You can find us on YouTube or Facebook, G.O.A.T Sports Media LLC. Yours truly and Coach Reed Larson. We break it down every week. We also do some interesting interviews. We'd love to have you. So tell your friends, tell your enemies, and we'll catch you next week.